How is it going, Retro people? My name is Brad, this is Retro Style Spotlight, and this is your news, notes, history, and retro games to play for the week of January 17th, 2017. Last week's tutorial was all about the ColecoVision and its historic library of games. I finally gave in and started using MAME and not MES standalone as well, but it should now have less steps to getting MES to run, which is always good. Check it out in the link below. In ROM hacking and translation news, Metroid Rogue Don is a Metroid prequel for the NES, and holy crap! This game punishes the NES and pushes the capabilities to the limit. Each system near the end of their life cycle has games that look very different than the games that appeared at the start, and this is an example of that. 2.5 decades after the NES ran its original course. The dev team has been working tirelessly for over 2.5 years, and this is something that they can seriously be proud of. A technically impressive game that comes close to a 16-bit offering. Having drawn inspiration from the original game's manual, the team have focused on the untold story around a research spaceship that suffered an attack by space pirates. With the thieves in possession of a capsule containing a newly discovered life form, Samus finds herself caught up in the deep end and facing up against a human agent trained by the enemy. The game is visually impressive and has a minimap system and an entirely new soundtrack. It also seems to take inspiration from Super Metroid, and this prequel is something you can add to your Metroid lineup. So in Europe and the States, we got the NES Classic, and in Japan, they got the Famicom Classic. Well, someone has shoved their Famicom Classic into a Game Boy styled shell that is pretty damn awesome. Done by a group called K Studios in Japan, the hardware hack is certainly impressive and slightly reminiscent of the recently announced Nintendo Switch, console games on the go. There are instructions on the group's YouTube channel on how to create this, and they've called it the Famicom Pocket. You can even hook up another machine for multiplayer action if you wanted to. The group seems to love hardware modifications and making things portable, as the group also has a PS2 portable called PS2 Unify. Console portables are not new, but this level of quality is very hard to find. So hats off to K Studios, and I hope that you keep creating awesome inventions. Awesome Games Done Quick just ended after a week of speedruns, raising over $2.2 million for the Prevent Cancer Foundation. And on the last day of the event, there was a spectacular showcase. In the speedrunning community, there is a method of, let's say, more artfully destroying a game called a TAS, or a tool-assisted speedrun. This is essentially a computer performing hundreds, thousands, or millions of button presses per minute to achieve the goal of breaking the game. This year's TASBot block on the AGDQ stream was absolutely spectacular. In short, they had about an hour and a half and several games, but it was near the midpoint where they had 2 NESs and an SNES being TASed. Super Mario Bros., and then Mega Man, and then Link to the Past were the games that were destroyed. However, it wasn't that they were simply beaten really fast. They had custom code injection happening. This isn't new. I've covered Super Mario World code injection in the past, and all it is a specific set of things happening on screen to get your way into the code so that you can do what you want. That is a very basic explanation, and there are better ones out there if you are more curious. However, this year is of significant note because they did something very insane. They played Super Mario 64, Portal, and had live Skype calls through their setup. One NES was sending left channel audio, and the other NES was sending right channel audio, while the SNES was playing the video. So not only did the TASBot play a few games leading up to this, it did a total control speedrun of 3 different games, then proceeded to speedrun and beat Super Mario 64 and Portal in this setup. Each NES was playing 7-bit PCM audio at 52 kHz mono, together to create stereo audio, and the SNES was turned into a dumb video pipe by pulling 4 simulated multi-tap inputs at 300 times per frame. The TASBot team was able to effectively send data to the SNES at 1.15 megabits per second, at 10 frames a second, and 1.2 million inputs a second to 3 consoles by the computer. This is an absolute masterpiece to watch. The entire hour-and-a-half TASBot block is up on AGDQ's YouTube channel, along with the rest of the marathon speedruns. So if you are curious about speedruns, want to see a record-breaking amount of money raised for the charity, and watch a computer make 2 NESs and SNES its whipping boy, then head on over to the link below and check them out. You will not be sorry. Now it's time for Retro Remix Song of the Week, and this week is A Link to the Past. Entitled Divinity and remixed by Nostalvania, this remix is based on the song The Goddess Appears. It's a jazz, funk, and blues arrangement that puts Zelda music into a tone we don't hear quite that often. Enjoy this song in the links below. This month in 1998, Final Fantasy Tactics was released in North America. Final Fantasy Tactics is a tactical RPG developed and published by Square, now Square Enix, for the Sony PlayStation. It is the first game of the Final Fantasy Tactics series and was released in Japan in June of 1997 and in the United States in January of 1998. The game combines thematic elements of the Final Fantasy video game series with a game engine and battle system unlike those previously seen in the franchise. In contrast to the other 32-bit era Final Fantasy titles, Final Fantasy Tactics uses a 3D isometric rotatable playing field with bitmap sprite characters. Final Fantasy Tactics is set in a fictional medieval-inspired kingdom called Ivalice, created by Yasumi Matsuno. The game's story follows Ramza Beluv, a highborn cadet who finds himself thrust into the middle of an intricate military conflict known as the Lion War, where 2 opposing noble factions are coveting the throne of the kingdom. As the story progresses, Ramza and his allies discover a sinister plot behind the war. A spin-off title, Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced, was released for the GBA in 2003, and a sequel to that title, Final Fantasy Tactics A2 Grimoire of the Rift, was released in 2007 for the DS. Various other games have also utilized the Ivalice setting, including Vagrant Story for the PlayStation and Final Fantasy XII for the PS2. A PSP version of Final Fantasy Tactics, entitled Final Fantasy Tactics The War of the Lions, was released on May 10th, 2007 in Japan and is now released across all regions. It is the second game announced as part of the Ivalice Alliance. The game features an updated version of Final Fantasy Tactics along with new features including in-game cutscenes, new characters, and multiplayer capabilities. The updated mechanics contain a 16:9 widescreen support, new items, new jobs, and cel-shaded full motion video. The English version contains full voice acting during the cinematic cutscenes, whereas the Japanese version does not. This version of the game was also ported to iOS and Android. Overall, the game received positive reviews from gaming magazines and websites, and has become a cult classic since its release. If you are a patron that pledged to be a part of our Patreon campaign and are watching this early, then thank you very much. For those of you who pledge at the producer level role, your names are now on screen. If you are interested in seeing your name as a part of a Retro Style Spotlight, the tutorials, and have it be inside of the Launchbox app, then head on over to our Patreon link in the description below. At just $2 a month, you can see content like RSS early, and at higher tiers, you start to unlock things like exclusive Discord server access, producer credits, and a personal hangout with the Launchbox team. Any dollar amount anyone pledges to our campaign is helping us create a better product, and we greatly appreciate the support. So that was Retro Style Spotlight for the week of January 17th, 2017. All of the relevant links to everything you heard in this edition of RSS will be in the description below. Remember, you can sign up for a Launchbox forum account, and if Launchbox has given you a beautiful library of games, then why not purchase a premium license of Launchbox for $20 to access Big Box, which is a controller and couch-oriented version of Launchbox. The Launchbox Games database is also available for any user to contribute to as well. Jason, Kirsten, and I, along with the rest of the team, have a lot planned for our community, so if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, we're doing a tutorial video every Friday, live developer sessions, Launchbox news, Q&As, and a ton more content in the future. Let us know what you think of RSS and any feedback you may have on it in the comments below. My name is Brad, the link to my channel is also below, and remember, freaks and geeks, to play more games, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day.